In our line of work, we are often helping people when they are at the worst part of their life or the most vulnerable. I'm Angie Miller with Ryan Miller in Coburn, and we specialize in helping our clients through difficult times. We help individuals who have been injured in car accidents, suffered from medical malpractice, or who are facing criminal charges. If you ever find yourself in one of these situations, please don't hesitate to reach out to our firm. We're available 24/7 and can be reached at 406-542-2233.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus. Well, Ridin with Ryder back for another week, probably presented by the Bobcat Collective. Bobcat Collective helping usher Montana State athletics into the new age of college sports. And Mikey, was interesting because I thought we were seeing something that I'd never really seen in the last 7 or 8 years during the first quarter against Northern Arizona when Montana State's down in Flagstaff, because the Cats got punched in the face and they were getting knocked off the ball, and they were not, I mean, they were getting dominated along the line of scrimmage. I'm sitting here thinking, man, Northern Arizona is pretty good and Northern Arizona is pretty tough. And then one Taco Dowler punt return and the momentum just flips on its head, and then Montana State just rolled after that. What did you think of just the first quarter and then the way Montana State was able to just seize control of that game thereafter?
Yeah, I feel like it says a lot about the maturity of the team, because not only was that taking place and they kind of, pretty poor first quarter and not a ton of momentum. And we talked about this last week, but a tough place to play. And you're on the road. And so to see the momentum shift and guys take over, and like a Taco Dowler with a punt return, and obviously a ton of the supporting cast on the special teams units, that's impressive in its own right. But then, Kenny Iden making plays, there wasn't a lot of momentum, but to see guys still kind of stand their ground, draw a line in the sand, and still battle and find a way to go up 21-7 before half, it says a lot about the resiliency and, to me, just the character of the team. Because I've coached and played on teams that probably would be in that situation, and it probably wouldn't go well because they were down there, and NAU had a lot of momentum, and Coach Wright had those guys ready to go. But to see them kind of bow their neck and get some stops, particularly on third downs, NAU did a good job on a couple of the third downs. They kind of found a way to keep moving the chains, and there were some uncharacteristic penalties the Cats had for the least penalized team in the FCS. And so they had a lot of things going against them, but then all of a sudden they were able to turn the tide. And to me, that just talks about the fabric of the team and the makeup, both mentally and physically, and just pretty impressive to go up 21-7 right before half.
One thing I wanted to ask about that I think is a hard statistical gauge right now is this is kind of like in baseball, where you used to see guys like 300 was like the magic number for a great hitter, and then you'd see guys hit 350 if they're having spectacular years. But now, because of the way the game has evolved, like it's like 275 is the new 300, right? And like an average hitter is like a 250 because of the amount of strikeouts and all these analytics, all that. I'm wondering about pass rush stats, because now like modern offenses are so good at getting the ball out of their hands. I think college coaches especially know like a 10-yard loss is such a huge loss, especially when you're playing a team like the Cats, where they're going to dominate you in field position already because of the way they can run the ball and control the line. So how do you go about because I was talking to Vegan about this, because sometimes even the quarterback hurry stat is a little bit skewed too. How would you go about like gauging pressures? Is it like if the guy gets knocked off his spot? Do we need a new statistic? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I that's a good question. I don't know that I've looked at it like that, but I mean, what you're saying is with also the number of plays these guys are playing too. And so
Right.
I feel like you have to kind of that factors. And I don't even know if I'm going to answer your question other than like that also needs to be factored in. Like these guys are playing a lot more plays than they did in 2002 and like
Right.
I mean you was ready huddle ready set break, right? And it's like you got more energy, you've got you're playing every single play. These guys are playing a lot more plays, the ball's coming out a whole lot faster. And so I think just getting the quarterback off their spot and making a quarterback uncomfortable,
Right.
that's how you change a football game. I mean, you see it at every level. If you got a quarterback that's comfortable, whether he's actually completing balls or just taking shots, or you're actually getting hurries or sacks, an uncomfortable quarterback is exactly what a defense wants. So how do you measure that? I'm not sure, but there's a lot of value in that, and there's a reason that those defensive ends, particularly the defensive end and defensive linemen, are so sought after and coveted. Because if you can disrupt the line of scrimmage, particularly in the pass game, it makes your secondary better. It makes your linebackers look better. It everybody wins.
Because Montana State has this reputation for their long, long history of great defensive linemen. And I just think like the days of the Brad Daly type stats, the Caleb Schreibeis type stats, where guys are getting 12 to 15 sacks. Like I just don't think that's going to happen now in the Big Sky. And there's all these factors that go into it, right? Quarterbacks are way more athletic. I mean, basically everybody has a guy that can kind of run, let alone like a runner, right?
Yep.
They're way harder to sack. You get the ball out way quicker. The spread concepts, it helps you move quick. You got the hurry up. You got all this sort of stuff.
You
And
got the RPO, Colter. I mean, like that's something that's.
right, right,
I mean, people don't even talk about that. I mean, that wasn't even around. That wasn't even a thing.
exactly.
However many years ago.
Well, that's why I loved that the coaches voted right last year with Brody Gravy to give him Defensive Player of the Year, and he was an All American multiple times. I mean, his sack numbers are like half of what Brad Daly's were, but they're very comparable players. Daly is, I mean, that's unfair to anybody because Daly to me is the greatest pure pass rusher I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if he's the most diverse defensive end. I actually know he's not, but in terms of like, you can't block this guy if he gets out wide on you. He's the best I ever seen. So that's a
Yep.
total aside. But Greavy was so good. That's the two things he was better than anybody I've ever seen at is when they were running RPO his way, being able to hold the point of attack, read it, and then make the right read, and then after that pursue it. He's so good at that. So you're right. The RPO factors into it too. I mean, like right now, Montana State has 11 sacks. That's only fourth in the Big Sky. 11 sacks in 6 games. So you're talking like less than 2 sacks a game. They don't have a guy. I think Iden has 3. He's the guy that leading the charge. So the numbers are just adjusted. But I went through and did sort of like a rudimentary. So basically, I was counting sacks, QB hits, quarterback hurries, and times when Pennington's timing was disrupted. And I counted 24 of those times. That's like a stat. I don't know how you create that stat, but like that seems to be like if a quarterback is disrupted, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, these coaches, when they vote on these players, they know who's disruptive. So
Exactly.
if you're an offensive coach, you know who's a problem. And so you understand that even though they may not have the sack totals, you understand the guys, particularly at the defensive end and the defensive tackle position, who are going to be really disruptive, and you're gonna create your game plan around and guys to avoid and to look out for. And so yeah, as far as creating a new stat and a new, I don't know, but disruption. I mean, how do you measure it? I don't know, but you can turn on the film and you can look at the disruption. And to your point, 24, opportunities where Pennington's uncomfortable. That's going to probably result in a 34-7 type ball game. It just will.
Big Sky Breakdown, proudly presented by the Bobcat Collective at Montana State. The Bobcat Collective is the NIL collective that serves Montana State University student athletes. The collective is partnered with Montana State to connect fans, alumni, businesses, and local nonprofits with Montana State student athletes. Opportunities through the collective allow student athletes to earn compensation while serving the greater Montana State University community. Sign up now for memberships and enjoy automatic entry into raffles for free tickets while supporting the bright minds at Montana State. They have multiple different membership tiers, and you can also be a one-time supporter, and you can also business partner or corporate supporter. Visit bobcatcollective.com for more.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
And I used to think that quarterback rating was a bunk stat because it was so different than what the NFL was doing, and the way that college measured it was so weird. But now I think it's a great, I think the actual efficiency rating that they use is actually real. And that's where I really read into it. Tom Stuber was the one that pointed this out. Pennington came into the game with a efficiency rating of 165, which was top in the country, and he was held to 92. So that's that's a huge, regardless if you understand how the rating works, that's a big disparity in his top level compared to what he had against Montana State. So that's what I'm getting at is I think that Montana State is playing great defense right now, even if the statistics in terms of the individual and the splash plays maybe aren't what we've been used to seeing in the past, but they're also giving them, they're just way more sound, way more steady, and it's been interesting to see because it's not necessarily as big of a splash play type of defense, but they're leading the league in every statistical category, even with the Oregon statistics accounted for.
Yep. And I love seeing the secondary. They continue to evolve and get a little bit better. Some of those young guys, you can tell they're getting a little bit more confident too. And I've said this week after week, but the physicality in that secondary is a big deal. And I can see their physicality showing. Guys are, continuing to set the edge, making plays on the ball. But yet, this is the former coach in me, there's still so much they can improve on. There's still some of those third downs, just a little bit of discipline here or there. There's a lot of spots where they can continue to improve. And but look, they've given up, what is it, Colter? Probably 14 points in the last, how many in the last 3 or 4 games? They haven't given up hardly any points.
They've given up 27 total points in regulation to FCS opponents.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go. So
it's 5 points a game. It's can't really do it better than that.
That's unbelievable. And so, and you got to give credit to NAU, that drive that they put together, to start the game and go up 7-0 after it was a pretty slow start. Again, the rebound though by the Cats, I was really impressed on the road. It says a lot about your ball club when you're able to do that and respond when things don't go your way and you've got penalties. And the last thing I'll say, the importance of special teams. I know Coach Houck has been a big believer in this, and some people are like, yeah, special teams is good, it's kind of whatever. But for the average listener, they need to understand how important that is. That drastically changed the entire game by one punt return. And you're on the road and you need a spark. And special teams, it's the only play in football where the ball is exchanged hands like that from one to the other. And it's it's a big deal. And so to capture that momentum on the road, that could have been, the play of the year for the Cats, looking back just based on the difficulty and being on the road and a good NAU team who's going to continue to win a lot of games in the Big Sky and probably be a playoff team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I thought they were solid. I thought they had good personnel, certainly. One last defensive big picture question. Forcing turnovers is obviously a huge priority of defenses, but a lot of times it takes taking some risks as well, especially when it comes to in coverage and breaking on the ball and stuff like that. Montana State just has 6 takeaways so far this year, so nothing crazy. But do you try to continue to emphasize it, or are you good if you're Montana State with just how fundamentally sound and solid you've been playing?
man, I think they're doing such a good job within their just owning their 111th. I think each guy that those opportunities are going to come because at some point those quarterbacks are going to have to force the issue and they're going to hold it a little bit longer. And it is going to result in this instead of a pressure, it's going to be a strip sack or they're going to get the ball out and they're going to try and force it into coverage. I think people are just trying to do enough right now to not lose against Montana State, especially on offense. They're not taking a lot of shots downfield. The quarterback is just trying to kind of manage that game. But as the game or as the season progresses, I would look for offenses to be a little bit more risky and maybe hold the ball a little bit longer, a little bit more drop back pass and more opportunities, particularly in the secondary, more sacks, which means more fumbles. So if you're on defense, I mean, what else can you ask for than averaging 5 points a game in FCS play? I think you just got to keep doing that. But when the opportunity does come, you got to take it away because there's no greater stat in football. And I just saw something, I don't even know what it was. I saw an article, I read something about the biggest determining factor in winning and losing football games is the turnover battle. It'll never change. It'll always be that way. And so, the flip side of the coin too, Colter, is that the Cats aren't giving the ball away. So you got to look at that too. If you're not giving the ball away a whole bunch, that obviously the need for turnovers maybe isn't quite as great. You'd love to have more, but I think they just got to maintain what they're doing, really fundamentally sound. They're tackling well, doing their job, and I think those turnovers will come.
They're taking care of the ball too, so they're still winning the turnover battle, even if they're not getting them in bunches. And I think that helps too. I mean, that's Brett Vegan has said this, and it just seems so simplistic, but it is the brilliance of the formula. He always says that if we outrush you, we rush for 250 yards, and we win the turnover battle, and we don't commit miscues on special teams, that we will beat you. If we do those four things, we will beat you because there is nothing else that can happen in the scope of a game where you're going to be able to possess the ball long enough for to make a run at Montana State. You mentioned the coaches where they're preparing for Montana State too. What a compliment to the prowess that the Cats have reached. That they've had multiple opponents in the last month that were basically game planning to not get their asses kicked. Like to say, okay, we are not going to lose 59 to like. Eastern didn't do that. Like, I actually give them credit for it. Like, they actually got into a backyard brawl with Montana State and they lost 57-3. Whereas Mercyhurst and San Diego were both like, well, we're going to try to mitigate this. It was also fascinating because I thought NAU had like a good game plan initially, but that punt return then into the long touchdown and it just all went away. They like lit it on fire. And then it became like, okay, let's not get boat race. Let's not lose 49-7 at home. It's wild, but it is. I think it's a real testament to how good the Cats have gotten, man. I think that people are looking at them on film and thinking, man, there's not a lot of holes that I see out there on this squad.
Totally. Even as that came out of my mouth as I was saying it, that's exactly what was in my brain was what you're saying. Like that's a huge compliment. I mean, years ago to say that somebody's going to try and in your own stadium at home, look, we're just going to be a little bit more conservative. We're going to be smart. We're going to play physical. We're going to have a game plan, but we're not going to try and, be uber aggressive trying to beat this team. We're going to try and drag the game out and see if we can't, have the ball bounce our way a few times and squeak it out. It just says a lot about the Cats and where they progressed to as a program.
Ryder doing us here on Riding with Ryder on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, presented by Town Pump. Town Pump, Montana's best for more than 6 decades. We got to get back to Dowler because, man, he's just amazing. It's so funny because my brother and I were talking about this on our hit this week. Because I asked him, I said, hey, you want to have some controversy? Let's talk about Taco Dowler versus Junior Bergen. And I think it's actually really unfair because there's a lot of – first of all, I think they're both unbelievable players. Second of all, I think it's crazy that they both came out of the exact same town at the exact same time. Like, you had those two plus Gabe Solser. Like, how did that happen? There's like 3, 5, 9 guys that are just faster than lightning.
Yeah.
Came out of Billings at the exact same time. Like, it's just such a confluence of circumstance to make that happen. But anyways, the Bergen thing aside, man, has Taco Dowler saved Montana State's bacon a couple times in these last years, man. And just, you're right. It just completely flips the momentum on its head. It altered that entire game on Saturday. It made NAU crawl up in a ball, and then Montana State just rolled right after that long return.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because of particularly in the punt return game, and we saw it with Junior Bergen. But you can only coach so much of that. There is a schoolyard little kid feel to it. And I'll never forget. I was fortunate enough to coach Taco for one or 2 years at West, and I'll never forget. At the end of one practice, he was running sprints, and I was sitting there with Taylor Deese, who we're teammates. He's the D-line coach, played for the Cats, and Sean Sampson, Cat center. We're sitting there and we're watching these guys run sprints, and the effortlessness with like how he ran and just the acceleration and the change of direction and just the motor, it was just like, I just remember all three of us were sitting there like, that's just it. It's just some of it's just God given, and watching him return punts and run sprints, and you just knew how special he was going to be. But you also need to have opportunity. You got to stay healthy, a lot of those things. And he's fought some injuries himself, but he really had a guy like him. I mean, it's a program changer on special teams. Because yes, you can have guys, and I love them, teammates like like a Tyler Lule, who was so sure-handed, and the ball wasn't going to hit the ground, and that's really important, returning punts and doing all that. But you're going to have these electric guys like a Junior Bergen and a Taco Dowler and a Sean Johnson was similar, where you're like, look, man, when he gets the football, like he can just change the entire complexion of the game, and it's scary. It's scary as a special teams coach. It's challenging when you're running down on your coverage units, and it's a tall order. And so when Taco is done, just like they're probably finding out, they've got some good guys in Missoula now. I think Drew Deck has done a pretty good job. And then Worth, what's his name?
Michael
Wortham.
For sure.
I mean, that guy is nasty watching him return. But they're going to miss guys like Junior Bergen and Taco Dowler, because it's a luxury to have that guy that's got the skill, but some of it's like the God-given ability, that schoolyard, backyard ball that just no fear, understand how to track a difficult ball. And it's a luxury for a football team.
No doubt, man. And I've always thought this. I always thought the two most underrated parts of athleticism are your natural ceiling for physical conditioning, like your just God-given endurance. Like some people just have a higher elevated level of that. But number one, and I think it's the thing that is eluded NFL scouts the longest, is your pure spatial awareness, like your ability to see space. Like people talked about this with Cooper Kupp forever. Yeah, he's slow. It doesn't matter though, dude. You can't guard him because he knows where you're going. He can see you moving before he moves. And that's what those guys have. That's what Bergen and Dowler both have. They got this insane spatial awareness. Like Dowler's really fast, but he outruns you because he gets to the spot before you, and then you just can't catch him.
Yeah. He's a special athlete, and he will be missed, but it's fun that we get a front row seat here, and to think that he's a junior and hopefully sticking around, which that'll be a whole other topic here in months to come. But you get to sit back and enjoy it because he's a weapon. And he's developed as a receiver. You can see what he's done receiver-wise too, because he's needed to take that game up a notch, and he's been sure-handed. Hasn't had many drops, and he's a leader in that receiving core too, which is good to see him go from, the end around return guy to more complete receiver. And I'm the end around guy, and I'm the vocal leader, and I'm the punt returner. He stepped into his role nicely.
Meeting her stopped your world. The ring you give her should stop her heart.
Tina, will you marry me?
Not again! Don't worry, I'm gonna fix this because we want to be your jeweler. Aren't our beautiful diamond clear? Come back to me, Tina! Are you okay?
Being in this industry since I was in college, one of the things I think we take the most pride in is Aspen Sound's been such a presence in Missoula for almost 40 years. The cool parts about our job is people always ask me, what do you do for a living? I sell fun, whether it's as simple as window tint all the way up to integrating a backup camera into a factory screen. I'm pretty excited about the options that we can
Last thing for you, when you were coaching specifically in the Big Sky, it was so crazy how each week by week you could have these just not even in the same realm matchups. Like you could play Eastern Washington and Cal Poly back to back weeks, and this is when Eastern's going four wide and throwing the ball 60 times, and Cal Poly's never throwing it. They're running literally the triple option. It's not nearly like that anymore because, first of all, I think everybody runs concepts of everything. Like everybody's running like RPO concepts and spread concepts, and it's just so much more diverse with all the technology, and all these kids can learn all this stuff. And anyways, Idaho State is the one team that runs different stuff offensively. They look like what the Big Sky used to look like when you were playing, where teams are going 3 and 4 wide and spreading all over the place. What do you think of this matchup, though? Because I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, Idaho State might be able to come into Bozeman and challenge Montana State. I do think Idaho State has some good talent. I like the quarterback. I love the receivers.
Yep.
But also the Grizz defense and the way that we call it the Casino Royale. Like they just blitz, man. Like that's what they do. They blitz and they're playing man, and that's it. And the quarterback doesn't have to make any reads. He's just got to boom, get it out.
Yep.
Hot route out, right?
Yep.
It's perfect matchup for Idaho State. I don't think the Cats is nearly as good a matchup. I actually think the Cats are a terrible matchup for Idaho State. So just break that down because Montana State, they mix coverages way more. They can fabricate a pass rush without blitzing. So I mean, what do you think of the matchup on Saturday in Bozeman?
Yeah, I think they're going to play. They're going to play a too high shell a lot of times. They're going to play, quarters and a quarter half, which lends to a lot of times it's going to be, tighter in coverage based on it almost turns into man on some of those vertical routes. You get past that 5 to 7 yard mark and it turns into man. You got corners man to man, safeties man to man. So I think it presents some challenges on the outside. They got some size, that they got a 6'6", high jumper, Michael. I'm drawing a blank on the last name, but he was fun to watch.
Fun to watch,
he's a good player, a competitor. Another kid that was 6'4", so they got some size on the outside. I think that's always a concern, especially with some of those back shoulder balls that they won on. I saw that against Montana, and then they're going to try and fit those seams, but ultimately they're going to be tighter windows, I think, because the Cats are not going to blitz like the Grizz did, and so some of those windows are going to be a little bit tighter. I think there'll be some mix-ups in between, like getting to a single high and some man stuff. They'll also run some 3 match, so it looks like cover 3, but kind of a quarters man concepts there built in. And so I think all that together, that quarterback's going to have to do a little bit more reading. And I just think, and this is what I've seen so far, I do think from an athletic standpoint, from a totality in the defense, the Cat defense looks a little more complete than the Grizz defense up to this point. And so I think there's a talent level there, particularly on the defensive line, but you got some young corners for MSU, and those guys are going to get tested. And so anytime I've been in that situation, and that's a stressful one to be coaching and getting those kids ready to go, but they look like they're physically willing to compete, stick their nose in there. They play with good fundamentals. But they are going to have to stop the run. They're going to stop the run first and then make that quarterback beat them, because they will run the ball here or there, and put the quarterback in the driver's seat and say, beat us and fit the ball into tight windows and hold the ball a few times. And we're going to hopefully win on a pass rush, but it's going to be a tall task. And the other thing that you got to remember is it's getting on the road and playing at home. It's different. You can pretend that it's not. It's different. And they're coming into Bozeman on the road after losing a heartbreaker at home. You can pretend that it's easy to rally and get on the road, and they'll be ready to go, but you don't have quite as much gas in the tank. And so I'll be interested to see how they can kind of match the atmosphere in Bozeman on Saturday.
Like Ryder joins us once a week here on the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series. Thanks for doing it, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.